Hey, all bro, Black Man 94 here. Hopefully you can hear me and there's no technical difficulties with YouTube streaming because YouTube just doesn't want anyone to be right. If so, we would have been hosting on LavLav's channel though. But anywho, welcome all. We're going to be doing book club, and this month's book is pretty much going to be Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. Hopefully I pronounced that right. If not, crucify me in both the live chat and in the comments section. So let's start off with people who are joining us. Starters, the woman who put this all together. LavLav, introduce yourself.
Hey guys, so I'm still in timeout with YouTube, so I don't know how long we're going to be doing this in other people's channels, but I'm always happy to just talk my books. I don't care where we are. And this is one of my absolute favorites. It always puts me in a great mood. So I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I think we all did.
And we got down the line, Monero. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Ready to talk some good omens, bad omens. You filthy brugger.
I swear, I thought I muted myself. Then we got a new one in this book club. We got Lauren.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren. I'm on Lauren's Corner. So I'm just here along for the ride because I happen to love Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, and this is the book that got me to read both writers, both authors, and I'm just here to have some fun. So, yeah.
And lastly, AK, the one with many titles.
Finally found a short one. That's good. What goes on YouTube, Lord Commander AK, here with the people to talk about Good Omens. Let's get started. Third time's the charm. We finally made it.
True. It's like we say we're going to do it in what, mid or late March. Then we said we're going to do it in April, early April. But here we are. What is it, the 14th? Hopefully we can get it through, not cancel the damn stream right now, and then end up doing it in June. Fingers crossed, people, fingers crossed. But let's just start off what we normally do, is like summarizing the book. So mainly this book is featuring what, Crowley, demon, and a Seraphel, angel. And they're not enemies. They've been friends for like a very good minute now, like over thousands of years. And there's going to be an event, the climax of the book, the apocalypse, and basically their main goal is try to stop it. And they thought that by, getting jobs near the Antichrist, get jobs near the Antichrist, monitor and make sure that he probably doesn't even start the damn thing. Turns out they've been looking after the wrong boy. So now it's basically the race to find him and make sure he doesn't even begin it. Now, how do you all basically enjoyed the book? Let's look to AK, what you thought about the book.
This book was exactly what LavLav said it was going to be. It was hilarious. It's not for anyone that's like is super religious and can't have a good laugh over the ridiculousness of some things. It was absolutely funny. There's what's his name? Crowley, I think, is probably my favorite character. Just his sarcasm, I think, on everything was one of the things that drew me into him. And the little Antichrist, actually, I kind of liked him and his way of thinking. It worked out quite well for them. Well, that's it. I think I don't know what exactly to use to rate this, so I'll just say 4 out of 5 stars.
4 out of 5. And I do have to agree, even though I'm like religious, devoted Catholic, even there are certain things I was like, wait, what? And I even laugh and chuckle a bit. I really don't take like some of these things that seriously, though. But it was done well. Even did like a lot of Bible revelations to the Book of Revelations and stuff. Even I was surprised when they even mentioned the rapture in it, because at one point I'm like, wait, it's like the and in the World Apocalypse, we're gonna like get the rapture in it, and they did like a little nod to it though. So what do you thought about it, the book, Lauren?
Well, overall, I'm biased, hands down biased, because I love both styles of writing from like Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. But you always know you're like reading a Pratchett book when there's the best kind of footnotes ever on the planet. You will never really see any other writer putting footnotes in a book unless it's like a kind of academic or some sort of official document that requires those. And he uses them with absolute finesse and with comedy, and like it's hard not to love these books. And also you've got the religious element and them turning it on its head and giving it, rather than say just a good and evil, that there is a potential in the middle or freedom of choice, and how Adam's upbringing is very key to that he not be swayed either way, but has his own choice. So it's like I think it's called nurture versus nature. So he's not, who is his dad's son, is effectively being the son of the devil. But if I had to give a rating, then obviously I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 because bias, and I love the damn book. So yeah.
Sweet. Monero, what you thought of the book? So far, a lot of good ratings here. Are you going to be the first to say you hated it?
I didn't hate it. I thought it was a good book. I didn't laugh as much as I thought I would. But one character, every time, well, I listened to the audio, the BBC version, and I think it made it, I think if I had to read it or like read the book or like listen to the audio from listening to everybody else's complaints, I probably would have had a hard time finishing it. If I'm going to be honest, but I thought it was kind of very well done. The humor is very smart humor. It's not like slapstick humor, which I really appreciated about it. And I really appreciated them kind of putting a not so serious spin on, if you're a person who goes to church and you're very religious, you know about the theme of what they were talking about, the Antichrist, the 4 horsemen, without getting too deep into it, and how some very strictly religious Christians are very like almost extreme about those types of topics. And I like the way that they just took a very light and a more humorous tone to it. I really enjoyed that. If I had to have a favorite character, it had to be the I can't remember his name, but he was the
head of the witch hunter club.
Yeah, he would be the one. Because I don't know why, but his character reminds me of another character that I've read in another book, and I just thought that he kind of every time he came up, like a part of his came up, I have to say that I paid more attention. I really liked Crawley. I thought Crawley was good, and I thought Aziraphale's character was pretty good, and I like the way that they kind of I like the way that they interacted with each other, like 2 guys working in an office in 2 different departments, and just trying to, they have a project and a deadline that they have to meet, and they both got to work together to make sure that this project like gets done. At least that's the way that I thought of it, and I really enjoyed that interaction. I don't know what to rate it. Guess I rated a 4 out of 5.
Then we got Lav. How do you thought of it? I'm probably gonna expect like a 5 out of 5 because you're like a Neil Gaiman fan, but who knows? You might trick us all. Might say a 2, maybe a 3. I don't know.
Well, I'm exactly like Lauren. I am totally biased. I've been in love with this book for a long time. I am a huge Neil Gaiman fan, and I actually haven't read that much Terry Pratchett. I have a book of his that I bought just because of this book, so that I have to read. It's on my TBR list. But from what I read of his writing here, I mean, I think I'll be a fan. So obviously, since I love this book so much, I would rate it. I'll give it a 4 out of 4 horsemen. And it's just, I don't know, it makes me happy. It's one of those books that just makes me happy. It's funny, it's witty, it's sarcastic, and it's very, I guess, hopeful and positive. So even for an apocalypse book. So yeah, that's why I love it, I guess, so much. Yeah.
So pretty much even myself, like everyone in this panel enjoyed the damn book. For me, I've read like only so far one book of Neil Gaiman. That was like the first book we ever did with book club with Anansi Boys. So is TV series that he's doing on let's say Star Wars, damn it. Stars, the American Gods, which I won't be surprised later down the line in his book club, we're going to be reading American Gods. At this point, it's inevitable. But then with Good Omens, like I'm reading like, a little bit halfway through, and with the theme of the apocalypse and stuff, I'm like, this sounds so much of freaking Supernatural seasons 4 and 5. And then when I actually was like looking up stuff, they were like Eric Kripke, probably messed up his last name there, was really inspired through Neil Gaiman's Good Omens, because there's like so much characters from the demon Crowley. Even there's like a Crowley in that show too, not the angel Aziraphale, but there's like an angel Cassia who saw the similar way, who doesn't like even want the apocalypse to happen later on. So I was like really intrigued to see how this book was gonna go through. And like I mentioned before, like even though I was a Catholic, there were like certain nods and stuff I was actually just laughing towards. It even had freaking Elvis freaking Presley saying that he's actually alive, because apparently the horsemen of death didn't apparently kill him or so. So I even found that even hilarious at the time. Like the humor in it was fantastic. And even like with the Antichrist, about what they did, playing was either nature or nurture. With his character, expecting him to even be evil, he was just like a normal kid. Even at one part in the book we get probably gonna talk later on was like his decision, like, okay, should I just start the whole world all over and just like divide it between my friends, and then deciding not to, because then just how he put it, like everyone's gonna be coming up to me like fixing my own problems and whatnot. But it was still a good book. I'd probably give it a 4.5, because the Witchfinder thing, I really wasn't keen to it as much. I don't know. I'm sorry, Monero. I didn't like the Witchfinder thing and stuff, but everything else was enjoyable. So
I just wanted to put in, Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman have actually been like, and were, unfortunately, very close for about good 30 years or something. And they work closely with each other. He helped him with his comic books. Terry Pratchett helped Gaiman with the comic books and stuff like that, all his graphic novels, and then slowly going into his actual novelist work, his prose and things like that. And then they were in each other's life, like they were very, very close. And if you've seen, I think there's a documentary from the BBC on Terry Pratchett and his death and stuff, and like Neil Gaiman has to give this speech, and you see how close they were, because he's very upset, and you still see interviews where he mentions them, and you can tell the way their writing just sinks in together. It's very hard to tell who's writing what and who's editing what as well. That's very important in a co-opted book, because it belongs to both of them. And I think anyone that can manage to function that well together in a story is doing exceedingly well, because as a writer, it's very hard to work with someone else's ideas and still maintain your own and things like that. But they always have long dialogues. Sorry, I'm very much into these two authors in particular. But this book is a good platform to get on to either or. They both have fantasy in their genres, but one's kind of more magical and the other one's a bit more satirical, and it still has those big fantasy elements and different ways of putting things out.
Yeah, I just wanted to build on what you said. This book started just because Neil Gaiman started the book and got stuck and called his friend. So he calls his friend, and his friend just like the bit he read inspired him. So it was so like organic that they just both started feeding off each other for the book, that I think it was just like the perfect, I think it's a rare thing that happened with this book, and it was just perfection. So yeah, I just wanted to add that little bit to what Lauren was saying, because I completely agree with you. They work really well together, and it's probably because of their close, like real personal friendship.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think it kind of gives perspective when you have like a background on the author. I'm not very familiar with either of them. I know Neil Gaiman. I know the name, but I'm not. I won't say that I know him personally or know about him, his background, I should say, enough to have known that. So thank you for sharing that. That kind of gives a lot more perspective, so that I do plan on buying the book so I could see those footnotes, and actually reading it, because now I'll get to, because any author, when they write, a part of themselves are in this is in the story, so to speak. So it'll actually give me a little bit more perspective when I read the words again, or if I hear it again, to kind of hear, both of these men, how they interjected their thoughts and process when they decided to write. It's a very, very well written book, a very good story.
Lav, can you or Lauren tell us about some of the footnotes?
I was going to ask that. And you, Lavi, before the stream started, you acknowledged that they were like footnotes. Like, again, they didn't just fit into the book, or was it just humor?
If you're talking, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think she just went to get the book.
Sorry. Let's see. I'm trying to see a quick example. So like, let's see, this sounds easier than it actually was, since in order to manage it, Crowley needed to avoid half a dozen firemen, 2 policemen, and a number of interesting Soho night people. And then there's the little footnote thing. And so in any other place in Soho, it's quite possible that the spectator at a fire might have been interested. So it's just like a little sarcastic bit telling you like, yeah, in Soho, and nobody gave a shit there was a fire. They're like, it's just like, it's really hard to explain until you start reading it. And there's like tons of footnotes, like tons of them. And you're just reading the story, and then it'll have a little footnote, and it'll just tell you just a little extra about whoever's there or whatever's happening. And it's usually hilarious and sarcastic and a kind of commentary on either people or situations or the place. So considering like I'm American, a lot of this takes place in like, Europe and stuff. It just like, to me, it gives me a little like lens into maybe how that certain village or those certain people are viewed in that place, So I find them really interesting and really entertaining. They're not just funny. They give you insight that would be forced if he just shoved it into the storyline. And you could ignore them if you want, but I think they're just like the cherry on the cupcake, I guess, is my view of it. I don't know, Lauren, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, totally. So the footnotes are not just in this book, they're in all of Terry Pratchett's books. So everything in the Discworld, you'll find at least one footnote in the book. You'll be hard pressed not to find at least 10, right? And they vary from one lines to like whole paragraphs. And as she said, they are the icing and the cherry and the sprinkles and the sauce and everything on the cake. Like, it's, if you can hear from my voice, like I adore this man's writing, especially the Discworld novels. You want to learn stuff, read those books, and there's like what 50 odd of them or something like that, isn't there? So LavLav is shaking her head. Yes, there is. It's very hard to keep track, and how these people manage to like jam out all these books over their lifetime. It amazes me. But every footnote is funny, or you learn something from it, or is sort of irrelevant to the main plot line at hand, but somehow fits in. And it's like he's wrote too much and then decided to take the funniest parts out and stick them at the bottom. So they're emphasized. So you kind of see them and you try to ignore them, but you can't. And that's the genius of it. Like, it's... And he's not the, like... Neil Gaiman isn't the only person he has co-opted books with. Like, there's Stephen Baxter as well, which is this one, which is the Long Earth series. This is, I think, book 4. But even these are seamlessly put together, and there is footnotes in some of these books as well. You won't see them in any other author that I've come across recently. No other author seems to do this. Maybe Gaiman sometimes slightly on if he's maybe put Terry into a story or something like that and placing a tribute. But apart from that, no one else does these, and that makes them extra special. Sorry, I've just rambled on about footnotes for no reason, but yeah.
It was okay. You even had the Terry Pratchett book right there on standby, so you can just plant the seed so we all know what book we're probably going to be reading next. Because I am intrigued, because if he puts in like in all of his books, now I'm like curious, let me actually go read another one of his so I can actually see, okay, his style to it. Because now he even said earlier, he was saying like he even helped him with his comic books. Again, I think he made Sandman, I think the graphic novel was. So.
I think it's Sandman, Hellraiser, which is basically Constantine. I think that's what the title is. And I'm sure there's a few other ones that I have downstairs. I just can't remember. But he has a vast litany of comics, and there's big compendiums made up on them. And like the Constantine you see in like the Arrowverse, then watch those shows, is more kind of accurate to the comics rather than anything you've seen in like a film or whatever. That one Constantine movie with, who is it again? I can't remember his name. Oh well.
I can't remember the movie. I can't see it in the movie, but I do like the TV show version. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it. And the book I just held up is actually a sci-fi series. It's not necessarily a fantasy series, but it is even like vaster than the Good Omens book goes in exposing things and going further, or just being comedic about it. But you learn something all the way through.
Fascinating. I'm not sure if he even helped him with the American Gods comics. I don't know, because I'm not sure if he helped him out with that before his death.
Not comics.
Oh no, but there is like American God comics. I'm not sure like when they came out. I'm not sure if it was this recently.
Probably recently due to like the TV show. But the book's been out for years. It's won so many prizes.
Lav, you wanted to say something?
No, I was just saying the same thing she did. Those are more recent. I don't know if they were because of the show, but I know the comics, because Neil Gaiman has had a few of his books turned into comics. Like the reason I know about Neil Gaiman is because of the Graveyard book, which is more like a children's book. And that one has also been turned into a comic. So if you're more a fan of comics, you can probably find a lot of his books in comic book form, since that's kind of how he started. So just in case anybody's more comic driven than novels.
I find that they usually sometimes, in order to to introduce certain audiences to a particular author, writer, or show, especially if it's like fantasy or sci-fi, if you go to like any bookstore or anything like that, you'll probably see like the book, and what they'll do is it won't have the original cover, but it will have like the actor or you know what I mean? Like the poster of either the movie with the actor or the show with the actors on it, or they'll create a graphic novel. They did the same thing with Game of Thrones. Like they created a graphic novel, a series of the book, I think it was just recent, because it wasn't something that was around from like before when Martin had first written the book. So I'm finding that a lot of times, in order to kind of introduce to a certain audience, they'll convert whatever novel that was originally written into different formats to kind of introduce it to different audience, to kind of gain interest and traction for either the show or the movie or whatever it is.
Yeah, I even noticed that a lot. Even again, what you said, Game of Thrones, and also I remember with Percy Jackson, Olympian series. It's like after the movie came out, it's like covers for the Lightning Thief like change, and I rarely see a lot of bookstores that actually has like the original cover to it anymore. That and Harry Potter. It's like pretty much every single book now covers not even like the original art. It's like the movie adaptation one.
Yeah, like that is a natural progression for them, for to beef up their advertisement, to beef up their income, and basically just corner the market. It's kind of like a Marvel effect, where instead of producing movies from comics, you're taking books and making them into comics. And well, Marvel are actually changing their narrative in their comics to match the movies. So it's giving a more easier way to follow and get ahead before, say, a movie comes out for an everyday casual reader. And again, yes, like Game of Thrones, they brought those out to be less heavier than the books are, because we all know that those books are massive, and not everyone is going to be like us and sit and read through them all. I'm assuming on this context that you've all read them front to back, but you could put them together and like make a hammer out of them, and crash your own hammer with the waters, and that didn't come out right. But yeah, it's completely marketing, it's completely money, but they are very effective if you're not up for reading like a massive collection of books.
I think it's like it might be also the visual appeal, and kudos to those people that can actually read and take the descriptions and are able to create a picture or some sort of art to kind of bring it to life. Because a lot of times we read things and we read the description, but when you actually see it in like some sort of a visual picture form, it almost it makes you more immersed into it, and it gives you some sort of visual satisfaction. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's it kind of touches that part of your brain when you actually see it in picture form. And I think that's probably another great appeal of doing the comics or graphic novel versions of a lot of these books, because of those people that are able to take the written word and from the description of the author puts in the book, are able to translate it into something visual. I think that's also why a lot of times when a movie comes out of a lot of the novels that we love, or TV or a show, it's like you're seeing something that you love in written format, and if it's done right, it's put in a visual format, you kind of like fall in love with it in another deeper level. And I don't know if I'm making any sense, but that's how it's translating to me.
I agree with you, because I think I think there's people who love both, which I think Monero, you're one of those people who likes both the comics and novels. Personally, I'm more of a novel person. I find the artwork just like it distracts me. I'd rather just read and come up with my own pictures in my head. Unless I really love the art, then I'll be more into the comic book version. But for me, I think it's beautiful when they take a novel and do it as a graphic novel, because that gets another person who might not have experienced this book. It brings them in. So to me, I love it 100%. And I just wanted to add, this is actually gonna be a show. AK, I don't know if you looked it up. I remember us saying it's gonna come out in 2019.
Sadly, when every other good show and stuff is coming back.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of 2019 already, just because it's holding all of our stuff hostage.
Just think about all of the great reaction videos and
that means more work I gotta do.
all of the panels that are gonna be arising, all of the discussion, all of the reviews. Man, you thought you was hot on YouTube now.
It's gonna be even more. I don't even know if I'm gonna have a social life.
Everyone, brace yourself.
And David Tennant is gonna be Crowley. I feel like we haven't even talked about
how perfect of a match is that.
I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm gonna have to watch it if
David Tennant is Crowley. I mean,
yes,
they couldn't have done it better. It's impossible.
Do we have a full cast list? Yes. Do you know? Actually, let me just go ask Google.
I don't know. Yeah.
I remember seeing on a TV show over here. He was like guest presenting, and he had the hair for it, where it's like it's really wild, kind of red ginger. I don't know if it is for Good Omens or not, but it's proper, like in your face. He will stand out next to Aziraphale completely. Like, I was so happy when they announced it was him, because there's no one else that can really do what he does. It's just, if you've seen him in all these past roles and he's amping up and amping up and amping up, and like, there's nothing else that David Tennant cannot do at this point. Let's be honest.
Well, he's so perfect because the character of Crowley is a demon. He is the demon Crowley, but he's not a bad guy. He's just doing his job. This is his job. This is what he's got to do. But he's kind of fond of people, and he's like kind of nice, and his best friend's an angel, and so he's like a likable demon. Who else could be a likable demon but David Tennant? Like, David Tennant, even in his worst, is kind of likable. You kind of still like him. You can't be mad at him.
True, from his work with, Doctor Who, and seeing him on Jessica Jones, even portraying as a bad guy. But again, the character of Crowley is like very different. Like, even he says like he can't really stand hell at all. Saying like he was like a demon. I think he was like, you're just like a bad time, whatever. I'm guessing the way how he put it, he was like it was bad timing that he even became a demon and fell. Even
like, didn't he do it on accident or something? Like, he wasn't even looking for it. He just happened to be walking. Then he turned around like, oh shit, here I am.
Even when you compare him to like other demons, how they're like, oh, I was a demon who like tricked the politician, made a priest do this. I forgot what made the priest do, something. But then
made him lust after a woman.
There we go. And then we talk Crowley. I think what Crowley just messed up with like time, like telephone poles or something, or traffic. There we go. And they're like, wait, that's what you did for freaking Lucifer and whatnot. And he's like, whatever. That's how you like knew that he really didn't care. And on top of that, he's literally friends with an angel, which I'm guessing is not even that common. On top of that,
like, do we have to point out the very big similarities between this and Supernatural, right? So you've got Crowley and Aziraphale, and you've got Crowley and Castiel. Important question: if there was a fight, which two would win?
I'm too much of a fan of both, though, to even make that decision. Damn it! You can't make.
What the hell with that question, Lauren?
I'm going to answer the question. I go with Crowley both times because Crowley is the demon. He knows how to play dirty. Azrael and Castiel do mostly try to do the right thing. I think Castiel has more of a chance than Azrael. But yeah, I'm going to say most of the time if you play dirty, you're the one who's going to win. So I'll answer the question because I love them all the same. So.
If you guys are interested, I have a cast list for the TV show coming up.
Oh, please
We
share.
are interested indeed. Go ahead.
All right. Well, first, David Tennant as Crowley. Michael Sheen, who I think is another great cast, is Aziraphale. Anna Maxwell Martin is Beelzebub. John Hamm is the Archangel Gabriel. Josie Lawrence is Agnes Nutter. I love that damn character. She deserves like a whole movie on her own. Adria Arjona, I don't know if I pronounced that right, is Anathema. Michael McKean is Witchfinder Sergeant Shatwell. Who is Michael McKean? You guys recognize that name? What else has he been in? I'll have to look that up later. Okay, go ahead.
Isn't he the guy from Lord of the Rings in the recent Black Panther movie? What's his name? Or unless I'm getting him mixed up with someone else. Give me the actor's name again. I'll look it up.
How do you spell his name?
Michael McKean, McKean. Let's see. I'll continue while Monero's looking that up. Jack Whitehall as Newton Pulsiver. Don't think I recognize that name. Miranda Richardson, Madam Tracy. Morel Enos is War. Lorde Febres, I probably completely butchered that name, as Pollution. Yusuf Gatewood as Famine. Reese Shearsmith as Shakespeare. Nina Sosana as Sister Loquacious. Let's see, Ned Denny as the Duke of Hell. Ariane Baker as Liger, also the Duke of Hell. Nicholas Parsons is the voice of God. Derek Jacobi is the Metatron. Steve Pemberton is Mark Gaddis as Harmony and Galosia, mysterious booksellers. And then Nick Offerman is the U.S. ambassador, who is Adam Warlock's dad.
Michael McKean, if you have to be like if there are any old heads here, which I am one, you probably wouldn't remember this, but Michael McKean was one of the actors that played in Laverne and Shirley. He used to have like this really short, dark-haired roommate. Laverne and Shirley is like a really old.
It's a good show.
Really old show.
Was he
Like,
he's also in Better Call Saul as Saul's dad.
Saul's dad.
I never watched Better Call Saul.
Saul's dad.
I've
never watched that. Isn't that like the spinoff from
Breaking Bad? Yeah.
Breaking Bad. I still need to watch that.
If you love Saul and Breaking Bad, you'll love it.
Yeah. He is on Better Call Saul. Yeah. He was in Laverne and Shirley. Yes, with that little cowlick.
Right? He was like a greaser. Was he the short one or the tall one?
He was the tall one, the tall blonde one.
Yeah. Okay. I know who he is then. Yeah.
Casting for Adam and the other kids has not been done yet.
They need
Just
to
get some kids from Stranger Things, damn it.
Right, get the whole cast of Stranger Things in there.
You know who I could see playing Shadwell? Remember the guy that played Mad Mooney in Harry Potter?
Yes.
Yeah.
He has the look.
He would make an awesome Shadwell.
Is the actor in another TV show?
Thank you, Dog Sidious. Thank you. There's a lot of people that be coming through with the saves. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Isn't he like in another actor, LavLav, the actor who plays Mad Eye Moody? Wasn't he like another TV show that recently came out that you were watching?
I've only seen him in movies.
No, that's not the guy from Mr. Mercedes, right? No.
Oh, it isn't? Oh, that was
No,
someone
I don't
else.
think so.
That guy, I think, would work for the role also. The guy from Mr. Mercedes. Whenever I heard his character, the guy from Mr. Mercedes is who I pictured.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
exactly who I pictured as well. And can I also say that that show is far too messed up to complete watching?
Who, Mr. Mercedes?
I love that show.
I love it too. But I'm a Stephen King fan, so.
It actually has like the best opener like I've seen ever. Like it lulls you, false sense of security. You know something's going to go bad, but it's not what you think it is. Just, dude.
No, that was horrible. It was horrendous what happened.
I showed it to my friend the next night. I got her to sit and watch it. I explained it first, and then she was suspicious. So I just sat my tablet in front of her and sat next to her, just watching her. Just her. Watching her watch this. And she had this exact same horror and this disturbance as I did. And she was pregnant at the time as well while watching this. So this was double horror for her. It was hilarious for me, but double horror for her.
That is hilarious.
That is just not what you want to watch when you're pregnant.
I'm gonna give a quick shout out to everybody that's in the chat right now. Cammy, Dog, Dodge, Eduardo just joined us. Welcome, good sir. Lord of House Troll, Ion is always in the chat. AU Pack Mule. I think there's somebody else I saw earlier. The Joker. And Zeno. Thank you guys for coming in. Smash that like button. Dirty D was also in the spot. I don't know if he's still here or not, but always appreciate seeing you. See Victoria Martinez. And anyone else that I may have forgotten, shout yourselves out in the comments.
Now we have to talk about Crowley, Phil. We've talked about the Witchfinder. Like, who else we haven't touched upon? We haven't talked a little bit about Adam.
I like little Adam.
Me too.
I liked Adam. I thought he was a cool little dude.
Right? Who knew you'd want the Antichrist as your son? It's all right.
To actually be like that. He just the way he said some things just always cracked me up. Like he was very, well, why would you make people this way and then punish them for being exactly the way you made them? That's just stupid. Why does there have to be a war?
Out of
the mouth of babes. You're right. You're right.
And I liked his little gang. It reminded me of like the Little Rascals almost, or the Bad Bears. Like it was. You
know what I would like to see? I want to see one of their gang fights. What was the other boy's name that they always had issues with?
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Lauren,
it just cracks me up to hear 10-year-olds talking like that. Like, really? You're in a gang?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
And then they stood up against like the Horsemen. And I like how they had that battle where it was like,
with their fake weapons.
Yeah. He's like, if you imagine it'll actually be real, and they actually did defeat the Horsemen of the Apocalypse with the help of, of Adam's powers. It was actually entertaining. I thought it was going to be like Crowley, and instead of it was going to go up against the Horsemen, but just allowing, Adam and his friends to do it, because those were his real friends compared to the Horsemen. When they entered the scene, they thought that, it's going to be easy, just manipulate them to work for them, but it didn't happen that way.
And kudos to little Adam for actually being able to fight off the draw to the dark side.
Yeah, but they're like children, so they just have that imagination.
Exactly.
And it was a beautiful little tribute to kids are cool. They're cool.
When they're not being demons.
I love the gang, like the whole gang setup and mentality, and how there's all these different gangs. And from being like someone from Britain and the way it's set up, it's very much like my childhood. So me and my cousin got nicknamed the Gruesome Twosome, which we rightfully deserved that nickname. And there was always you lived in different parts of my town, and there'd be like the Camelin young team, the Bonnybridge young team, the Canshore team, and things like that, and they would all clash with each other. Or there'd be certain groups, right, that kind of stuck close to each other but never really formed as one, and one or two people would intermingle with the other. But these disputes always came up, and like me and my cousin always got into trouble somehow. Even if we had the best intentions, we got into trouble, or we annoyed the crap out of my older brother, one of the two. But from this perspective, like how they function together is just really, really nice to see, and just that whole childhood aspect and the imagination and the creation that they have at their disposal.
I agree. That's hilarious. I love their
And can we show appreciation about how Adam just called the dog dog?
so just so simple.
Exactly.
Your name is dog.
The best. Adam's like, I don't want a fancy, crazy dog. I just want a busted looking dog who's gonna follow me around. Who's gonna
like an inside out ear. Like I'm like, wait, what? Like,
one thing I did appreciate was they gave us a little bit of insight into the dog's head when it was first introduced. Like it's this big beastie hellhound thing, but then it's listening to Adam and how he describes his perfect dog, and he's like, oh, all right, well, fine, I'll just be that. Yeah. And it transpired from there. I thought that was really cool.
And then Adam has, like, who doesn't want Adam in charge? Adam has perfect seasons for every holiday. Mm-hmm. There's perfect weather. Everybody has a dog. The children are playing outside. The parents are being parents and doing whatever the hell they do. And it's just like, it's like a Norman, his idea of the world is like a Norman Rockwell painting. So it's like they try to do a nature versus nurture, and they did it to the wrong Antichrist. It wasn't the right kid. And they let this kid just grow up and be a kid. And this is what happens. He's not all that bad, So I don't know. I think Adam is awesome. I want to live in Adam's town, even if he's gonna bust up my yard every once in a while or walk on my grass. I don't give a shit. I want snow on Christmas, and I want spring to come when spring comes.
Thank you.
Not the bullshit that the weather's doing right now.
Can we also appreciate him giving the what's her name? The apple at the end.
Yeah, Agnes.
Yeah. Here's an apple. And then he runs off to play with dog, even though he's supposed to be staying in the yard. And his logic is just so profoundly child. It's awesome. He's like, I have to stay here, but if dog happens to go out the yard and he runs and goes somewhere, I'm gonna have to go get him. So hey, dog, go look at that thing over there.
Not that, but when he saw like examples of his powers, he allowed freaking aliens to actually visit. I think, what was it before that? Did something with global warming or so? Or something?
Yeah. It was a whole bunch of weird shit that just started happening too. Aliens visiting. Somebody was digging a hole from China. And weren't there some monks or something were involved?
Tibetan monks. Yeah. Something about Tibetan monks.
It's funny that you mentioned Tibetan monks because that's one of the main characters of the book that I showed you earlier. So I'm not surprised that's came up. Okay,
that makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. I also want to mention that I love that he puts in their shenanigans, like ringing the doorbell and running away. I think it's of the priest in the town. So effectively over here we had the same equivalent, which was if you didn't have a doorbell, it'd be chapped or run. So I'd play chappie, and that's an actual real thing that we used to do. Or hedge jumping. That was another one. You jump somebody's hedge in their garden and then run away before they catch you.
That sounds like a childhood activity.
Yeah. It's like cute little kid stuff. Like when you compare it like to now, some bullshit that the kids are doing. I'm just like, oh, come on.
Fucking Tide Pods.
One ornament that's, whatever. They're going to knock and run, whatever. Yeah, he's like such a kid,
and in the best way, really in the best way. I liked when he was talking to Aziraphale and the psychic, and he was just like, "Why are you two people? You shouldn't be two people. Just go back to being one. This is confusing."
Yeah, Adam is so like simple. It's like, oh, all the dolphins are dying. Well, that's fucked up. Let's just stop that. That's done. Oh, this is happening. No, that's not cool. We're gonna stop that. It's just like, why can't adults have this logic? And he also is like smart enough to listen to his friends. Like he was getting in his head like, oh, I'm gonna rule the world and all this kind of stuff. And his friends are like, dude, that's no fun. That's gonna suck. That's gonna suck for us. That's gonna suck for you. It's gonna suck for everyone. That's no fun. And he stopped and listened. So, which I don't think adults do half as much as kids. So another reason we should be thankful the Antichrist was a kid.
Because
He also got rid of all the nuclear stuff.
adults think they know everything. That's why they don't listen. They think they know everything and they have all the answers.
Including those nuns that switched the damn kid.
How absurd were those nuns? Like, really? How you had one job? Literally one job.
I think it was like supposed to end up that way because I'm guessing in the grand scheme of it all, they kind of knew that Crowley and Aziraphale was gonna like watch over the kids, or like, you know what, let's do the switch. I think it was like that because I think it was, I forgot the demon was it, because after the switch, didn't the place like blew up or something like that? So I think they were like anticipating something.
No, it was a total accident.
It was an accident. I thought they heard about it, and then Crowley was like, "Wait a minute, that has to be the work of a certain demon." But I don't know if it was.
No, that part was the
Okay.
blowing up of the orphan or the right or it wasn't an orphanage, the hospital or whatever,
Yeah.
the convent. That was done by a demon on purpose. They were just trying to wipe their, I guess, tracks of the Antichrist. But the whole switch with the 3 babies, that was an accident. That was the nuns. Like in the book, they like wink at each other and totally misread the wink. And so like one girl's winking like, yeah, this is the baby. It's in the right spot. And then the other one reads the wink as like, oh, that's the baby I gotta take. And so it just gets like all mixed up. And that's what happens in the book. I think in the BBC thing, it's a little different. But in the book, it's a misread wink. Like one person's winking like, yeah, this is the baby. And the other person's thinking the wink means like, this is the baby, that, like the throwaway babies. So yeah, that's what happens in the book. And then I don't believe in the book we find out what happens to the 3rd baby either. So
I was about to ask that. What did happen to the
It was
3rd
like
kid?
3 kids, and then the only thing we heard is like the Antichrist kid and the wrong kid.
I think the 3rd child got adopted, and there's a small footnote or something like that to do with how he grew up to be a nice boy, had potential, didn't really fit into any sports, and had like a good collection of tropical fish that he was really proud of.
Lauren, let me correct you because I just finished reading that footnote earlier, and it's they tell you can believe that if you'd like.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So I think it's a Terry Pratchett kind of thing where there's like that dark undertone where it's like, or the nuns could have sacrificed him to Satan. But let's believe that this kid like grew up and lived a nice, normal family. He was adopted. So yeah.
He does get mentioned a few other times throughout the book, but I think it may still to be kept, give that connection more like a purpose, or like believe that, oh, maybe he is here in this town, etc.
Yeah, I don't know. I worry about that kid though. I'm still worried about that kid. I don't know about the rest.
Yeah, they were too much loyalists to, Lucifer. They probably did sacrifice the kid, is my bet. I don't know.
That's so sad to think about.
We don't know if you brought it up or it was a segue.
He was adopted. He's got tropical fish. He's happy. Just blinders. Put the blinders on.
It's funny though, if they have got rid of him, right? At least they weighed him for law purposes.
Right? And then how the nuns aren't actually bad. They're just like, oh well, we were born.
They're bad at their job.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, they're just weekend Satanists at the best. Okay, weekend Satanists.
Weekend Satanists.
Look, it doesn't
Like,
come
what
with rules, okay? It
What do
doesn't
we
come
call
with
them? Bro, because you said you're Catholic. Right? You said you're Catholic.
Yeah.
So what is it that when we call the ones that just show up for Easter and Christmas?
Oh, I called them the hypocrites, but or the no. There's another term. Excuse me. The oh my gosh.
seasonal Christians. They're seasonal Christians.
No, but there's a certain one that they say for Catholics, and I can't think of it right now. Where they just show up Easter and Christmas. Easter and Christmas, that's the only time you'll see them.
I know one phrase, a buffet Catholic. I'm not sure if that's the term.
No.
But that's one that I know of.
Like, in the middle of the night, I'm going to text
Hey,
you.
you said creasters? Did y'all see what AU put in the chat? He said it's creasters.
Creasters?
Does that sound accurate? I don't know. I'm just reading what he wrote.
Probably a whole bunch of names. Don't even know which one is universal though, but
this is all new to me. I didn't know there was a nickname for this, so there was actually a definition for this.
Yeah, me either.
Oh yeah.
I actually want to know the answer to the question now.
Could be an American thing, I'm not sure.
I just thought like turning up to church if you're sort of scared, but on like the DL, and you're just like, right, I'm going to have to show up for the important things, which is technically Christmas and Easter.
I'm showing up because it's Easter, and I'm in my, Easter suit or Christmas suit. That's that type of thing.
Yeah, they come and they get their Easter blessing, and they say they're good until Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And then Christmas, they
forget to bring that big hat.
They get their blessing in Christmas because that's going to ride them out through the new year until Easter.
There you go.
Not to mention all the sales and all the good food they're going to get those two occasions.
All right.
So true. It's worth for the free food, though. But not to get off topic, though. But I do expect probably later on at night, Lav is going to say, broke, hit the live stream again so she could announce the name that we're all dying for. That, or in the comment section, she would just put, here's the name, bro. For people who are like watching in the future.
Like forever, because my 3-year-old is literally the Antichrist. Freaking Adam is this cutie pie next to my 3-year-old. So, like, we have not gone because she will embarrass the shit out of us, and we don't want to be embarrassed in church. So,
is she Damien?
Huh?
Is she Damien?
She's Damien. She's awful.
Like, you know how in The Omen they tried to take him to church and he threw that hissy fit in the limo?
Yeah, pretty much. She is not going to sit through church. So we haven't gone, and my mom keeps saying, like, oh my God, because we're like, we have to go for Easter at least. And she's like, oh my God, we're the blah, blah, blah Catholics. And I was like, and now I can't remember the stupid name that she's so worried about.
We become one of those people.
We're those people. I was like, Mom, we were always just hanging on by a thread.
She's a toddler. She doesn't exactly understand church right at this moment. Like, she wants to run about and do things, and there's people like standing still looking at some dude on a podium, and like, I assume there's a podium. I'm not Catholic. I haven't been into any Catholic church. I think maybe once. I think it was for a funeral, and that was strange, but cool at the same time. But she doesn't understand these things.
I don't think how any parent can expect their toddlers to behave in church when toddlers don't behave anywhere else. I mean, they're toddlers. That's what they
have child things to do. They don't want to sit still and be all prim and proper.
True though, but what happens if like you're just sitting there?
Child under 6 to sit down for more than 5 minutes, you're a miracle worker.
My oldest did it. Okay, my oldest would sit there and she would sing the hymns. And I feel like I was spoiled with her, and now I probably have a normal child, but I think she's demonic because she.
But like, you're also you're talking about the kid that threw a tantrum because you wanted to use spray dye instead of actual dye for her Chucky costume.
Yeah,
it's kind of to be expected.
She is also super into it, and she wants me to buy her a Pennywise doll, but my mom won't let her.
Yeah, so, I told you, lock your doors at night. She might stab you.
Yeah. it's I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I don't come out on TV that my child's a mass murderer.
And I thought I had issues with my daughter asking for Rubik's cubes every 5 minutes, but that's a whole other something else.
Excuse me. But back to the other Antichrist. My poor daughter is gonna be like, "You're so mean, Mom. Go tell everybody I'm the Antichrist." Okay. Who else did I want to talk about? Agnes Nutter. I know AK started and then we kind of got off topic. I want to talk about her before our time's up.
Yeah, go for it. Go ahead. Start up.
I just, first of all, I don't remember if it's in the BBC version, but in the book, I love how she's such a badass. She's like such a badass. And I love this one little note where they talk about, oh, people have you believe that witches dance naked in the forest. And that's because men usually write books about witches. And then they go and describe her as she actually was, which is just a really smart lady with a gift. So I don't know. Agnes Nutter is like, I guess, the feminist in the book, and she's freaking awesome. I let somebody else talk about her for a bit. I feel like
I think my favorite thing was when they were listing off her crimes, and they were talking. They were like, "What does a woman? Where does she get off like having conversation?" I forget their actual words, but it's basically like having actual intelligent conversation. And she was actually a really good healer, like better than the actual doctors. And they thought that was just complete heresy, that she was smart. And like you said, badass, because when they came to get her for her burning, she was like, "Yeah, I've been waiting on you. You're fucking late." And then the note that she passed and just all the stuff that she had set up because she saw everything coming. She took out the whole damn town with her in that thing, and she survived. We see at the end of the book, she's actually still alive, just in the background by herself, chilling, watching everything.
Now that I was confused by. I don't know if that was actually her or a spirit or something or what, but she's still alive then near the end of the book. Or at the end of the book.
You know what? Now that you say that, I'm thinking about it. It is possible that it could have just been her spirit, because Adam is Adam. He would be able to see that as her being a real person. So that's interesting to think about.
Just without knowing, like, I don't know if he still has his powers though by the end of the book, right? So could have just like somehow just brought her back just by saying, "Wait, you want the apple, so just take it." But we know she could have came back to life. Who knows?
Maybe
now we went to tinfoil session.
Maybe she just popped out from somewhere. I mean, she had powers, so it's kind of like the whole the dad thing at the end when they're like, "Oh my God, Satan's coming, Satan's coming," and Adam kind of turns him into just his regular dad. Like, I always thought, I mean, this is a really fantastical book, so it's not like I picked it apart, but I was like, how does he go from, "Oh my God, Satan's coming," to, "Oh shit, it's middle-aged dad coming to scold his son"? But
I didn't take it that way. Like I thought when he said, "I choose my father," he actually meant his adoptive father, not that he was picking Satan. So because he picked his human dad, all that other shit stopped. He picked the side that he wanted to be on.
So you're saying like Satan was walking on over, and then Adam said like, "Nah, this guy's my dad," and so he's like, "Oh, I'm just walking it back. Then we'll go back home."
Something like that, yeah. Because that's what they were pushing for. They're like, you have to make a choice. You have to do this. What side are you gonna walk? And he's like, "I choose my father," and human dad came up.
I don't know.
Wasn't it like his female friend like gave him a little pep talk by like, "Who are you?" and stuff, and then he was like, I think it was like more during after he said like he chose it. Okay, yeah, here like echoing from me, but it was like more afterwards because all like what was it, like the sky is turning and stuff, and it was almost fire and stuff. Like they were anticipating his father, but I'm guessing it was like midway through he decided to change it.
Well, Adam's worried, right? Like he's like, "Oh shit,
Mm-hmm.
dad, and it's like Satan, right? So he's like, oh crap. And he's still worried when the dad comes, except instead of it's like, oh, hellfire, it's his adopted dad, I guess. But I don't know why I always pictured it in my head as him changing from Satan to dad, and I was like, wow, I guess the Antichrist has more power than Satan. So that's how I always interpreted it. But you guys might be right. Like maybe I had it twisted in my head, and it's just kind of like he got him sucked back into hell, and his dad showed up. I don't know. Yeah, that's something I need to reread it through that perspective.
Maybe it's just us from like listening to the BBC version. I don't know.
That could be it.
Yeah, maybe
that could be it. There could definitely be a different interpretation. Who was
Lauren?
Everyone's what?
Oh, I was just wondering if Lauren Monero had any kind of way they saw it.
Well, it's going from the book to like maybe the BBC audiobook version. Like I've known them to change some of the script to fit radio specifically, because radio and novel reading are far different things. So they maybe have made it more, I don't know, audience friendly, if you want to put that on it, over a general demographic. But I think in the book that either way, the devil is basically pushed back. Like, yeah, you're not getting your turn here. Like, move on. And Agnes Nutter, wherever she is, in whatever form, is just sitting with a bag of popcorn watching this all unfold. That's my imagination of it.
Okay, I'll talk about the Adam thing. For me, when I listened to the BBC version of it, when he was first saying, "Oh, my dad is coming," I honestly thought that it was the devil coming. But when he started to say that I choose my dad, I don't know if it was the way that he said it. I didn't think that it was the devil, because the tone kind of changed. I don't know if you were listening to it, the tone kind of changed. And then when his actual adoptive father showed up, he just acted like a kid, like who was getting in trouble, and he was telling all of his friends, "Yo, run!" And they all booked it. And then his father came, what has Adam been doing now? You know what I mean? So that's how I took it. And I think at the point where he said that he chose his father and the tone changed, I think at that point, the devil, kind of like what you said, Lauren, the devil kind of faded out and faded back into the shadows, because when Adam said that, he knew that he didn't mean that it was him. Because like I said, the tone of the music and everything kind of changed at that point. Before was like, there was like a lot of anxiety, there was anxious, the music was like, there was like a lot of up-tempo music, but once he made that choice, everything kind of sort of just calmed down. So that's the way that I saw it. With respect to Agnes Nutter, I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I think it was actually her. And that, like you said, she's just been chilling in the background, eating popcorn, watching everything unfold. I think she left the book out on purpose for whoever to find it, so she could see this whole thing unfold and see how they were going to run with it and see how people were going to react. And at the end of it, she ended up with her apple and said, "I'm going home. This was a good treat."
Yep. I want to know more about her. Like I would read a book just about her character and her life, because I find her quite hilarious.
What would it be like to know everything that's going to happen before it happens? Like, what would that person be like? We get a little glance at her in the book. I mean, she's the one who wrote the book technically in the story. what was she? I think she does deserve her own novel, because what would that person be like if you knew everything that's going to happen exactly as it's going to happen? She knew her deaths. She knew everything.
She'd be like the ghost of High Heart.
What would she? I would like to read what she would be like. Neil Gaiman could probably do it justice. Although I think he would be a little darker and less sarcastic than Terry Pratchett would be.
It would be interesting though, because she knew that she was gonna die from those witch finders, but she was like, if I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna go down with a bang, which she literally did.
Quite literally.
So it's like something of that nature. So it's like, I'm guessing if she like knew what was going to happen, if she wanted to like do something a little bit extra, she probably would have done it.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, if you knew a bunch of assholes are gonna kill you just cause they're assholes, like, she blew them up. She took them down with her. That's so awesome. That's what I hope I would do. But just imagine that in like everyday life. I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking like, oh, somebody's gonna cut you off, so you like fuck them over before they cut you off. I don't know. That's just my thinking of how I would act if I knew everything. So it's probably best.
I definitely wouldn't want to go through life knowing what was going to happen, because there are probably some people that I would put like on a merc list. I'm gonna get you before you get me, and then there's some people that I probably would want to play a lot of pranks on, because I live in Petty Lane. So I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing that I don't know things that are going to happen.
That's what I was about to say. I think I might like for real go just straight villainy, or maybe not villainous, but somewhat on the Deadpool angle. Just go around and be petty, like Monero said.
Aren't you House Slytherin or something, AK? I'm not sure.
No, actually, that's Lavina that is in Slytherin.
Okay.
I am in Gryffindor.
We know what I'm gonna be. But
so I'd be petty.
I gotta know the lottery numbers. If I knew everything, I gotta play the lottery, but not
I definitely
every
be
single
rich.
week. Like play lottery here and there, play it twice. Like, oh shoot, I'm actually that lucky again. But then like wait a few years and like, okay, let me just, it's my anniversary of 10 years that I won. Let me try it again. I'll try it again. I don't know.
Have you guys ever seen a show on Netflix called The Travelers?
No. What's it about?
I have.
If you have time, have you seen it, Lauren?
Yes, I have, and it's a very strange show, but I kind of like the premise.
It is a very strange show, and it's kind of like knowing the future and how people from the future. Well, the basic premise is it's kind of like a mix of body snatchers, time traveling, and
Quantum Leap.
Right. So there's people from the future who live in their future must be very dystopic, right? It must be very dystopic. And what they do is they come back to the past, but they take over human bodies or human hosts, but they only do it to people that are getting ready to die. So since they know the future and they already know when a person is getting ready to die, they know date and time that a person is getting ready to die. At the moment that the person is dying, they then assume that person's body, and it's like that person becomes now their new host. And in the future, they don't have names; they have numbers. They're known by numbers. They're not known by names. And so, like Lauren said, it's a very interesting show. I kind of like the idea. Some of it is kind of confusing if you don't pay attention, but it kind of gives me that perspective. Like, the future, but you're coming back in time because you're trying to prevent something in the future from happening. So you're coming back in time and you're taking over people that are going to die, their body just before they die. It's like really weird, but it's also kind of cool to me.
It sounds such like Doctor Who to me. I have to see it.
time travel gives me a headache. Like time travel, I'm always poking holes in what.
Well, you're not travel to different times. They're called travelers because they're coming from the future back in time, but you're not. The show doesn't go between future and the past. It doesn't do that. You just know that
saying that
people from the future are coming back into the past and taking over. People that were gonna die, they take over their bodies.
Am I correct in saying that when they come back to the past, that there's no going back to the future? Not that they
Correct.
necessarily want to. They can do it's the way they transfer is like a kind of consciousness transfer, but it's your whole self is your conscience, your soul, and that's transmitted into said person. Like, say, like you transfer a document from one person to the other through the internet. It'd be kind of like that, but from body to body through space and time, more or less. But there's no kind of going back out of that. I think they can do other transfers to save people and put them into a different body, but sometimes they don't have like a kind of limited time. And the lead actor that you see for most of it is the dude that plays Will from Will and Grace.
Yes.
Which actually really surprised me. Like, I started watching this, I went, am I going to enjoy this? But I'm actually glad that I did.
New? Sorry to interrupt, but is this new or old show?
It's new. It's new. It's on it. The second season came out earlier this year.
Is it on Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, it's on Netflix.
One to pass the time with, definitely.
I was looking for another one to binge because I binge watched the Santa Carla Diet, which is amazing. Everyone should watch it. But I needed another one. So thank you guys.
I need Netflix to release some more documentaries. I'm running out of ones to watch.
And another thing is they're kind of like, they almost seem like they're and I think the reason why their numbers is kind of like they're like almost like programs. You don't know what they look like in the future. You don't know if they're human or if they're machines. You don't know what they are. All you know is that they're coming back from the past, and whatever it is that they evolve to in the future is something that they
I do think you get one flashback or should we say, with the lead character and his kind of love interest from the future that
you did, and they did look human.
They've got the numbers tattooed on them, like people in Auschwitz and things like that. So I don't know if that's something to do with like maybe what their future is like, but there is representations of them in the show. Whether they keep that body is a different story, or how many times they shift or have shifted is kind of still in question as well, from what I remember anyway.
It's a pretty decent show if you've got like a day and you just feel like you don't got nothing better to do. It's a pretty cool show to just check out. That one and this other weird one that I saw. It was very weird.
Dark is a good show.
I don't usually do weird, but it's a pretty weird show. I don't even remember the name of it, but it stars David Olaway, or I could never say that dude's name. It's another one of those, they gotta go into space and they gotta save the world because the world is getting ready to suffer some cataclysm. But while they're out in space, they come across some weird some really weird stuff. And I know T-Baby would have enjoyed it, because it is really weird and semi thriller horror. And that
shout out to T-Baby and the rest of my queens.
Yes, I miss T-Baby. I haven't seen her in forever.
So I believe we covered the major points and characters and stuff, and then there was like another we haven't touched upon.
How about the Four Horsemen?
Oh, what okay, so War has to be my favorite. I love just even the glamour that's put on her, and her physical representation. The same for all of the others. The they look as if they are, and who they are, and it's like War's just this nonchalant, well-made person who's dangerous. Oh, there's a quote that I wrote down in regards to War, and how beautiful she was. Where is it? Where to put it? I actually wrote a note down. Yeah, she is, and this is one of the best descriptions ever. Beautiful in a way a forest fire is beautiful, something to be admired at a distance, but not up close. So, and that is like that's her in a nutshell. You kind of want to know. No, you don't want to know her. Just stay away.
Yeah, the hot chick that comes and just fucks up everybody's life. That's War. I love her. Yeah, I love her too. She's hard not to love when she could just walk into a bar and then walk out like half an hour later and everybody's murdered each other. It's a cool character.
And the wars are where she isn't. They're going to be where she is eventually.
Yeah. And there's a cool part. I know you guys did the BBC version. But there's like this cool part in the book where they just adopt a gang of dudes, and these guys are so stupid, and it's just a little funny part. There's just like a lot of little funny side characters that kind of get cut from like the radio version, just because they're not intricate to the plot, but they're like really hilarious. So I always do recommend people actually reading the book.
Now, weren't they like they were the four like all wannabe horsemen, right? Yeah, they were in there.
Yeah, but there's more in the book. I don't know.
Oh, there's more of them.
Okay.
All right,
there's just more to them in the book. They're just hilarious. I don't know.
Monero, did you want to do your sign out before we get deep into anything else?
Yes, I'm gonna have to jump ship. So, just real quick about the Four Horsemen. I love Death. I thought Death was awesome. I don't know how that really sounded now that I said it out loud, but we're just gonna go with it. Okay, we're just gonna go with it because y'all know I just be blurting stuff out sometimes. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna have to sign out. Thank you so much for having me and for allowing me to be a part of the discussion. It was a really great time. Shout out to you, LavLav, Lauren, BBM, and AK. Shout out to everybody in the chat and for being here with us and for joining the conversation. I'm sure you guys are going to keep this going, and I'll probably watch the after credits a little bit later. So with that said, peace, love, and pizza.
See you, Monero.
And if you want to check out Monero on her channel, the link is in the description box, as well as everyone else's links to their channels and stuff is in the description box. I'm telling you, go to her channel. She does like a lot of like readings from Game of Thrones. I remember she did like a few poetry as well.
Yes, she had some poetry on there, and she had some awesome voice readings as well. And if you don't know about the Bene Gesserit powers of Monero Geek TV, you are missing things in your life. Just saying.
And she's also talking about doing that Harry Potter stuff, which I believe
yes. I think there's a Harry Potter reread coming, so you guys definitely stay tuned to Monero's channel for that. We will all be there.
I can't believe she's mentioned pizza and just left us.
I know, right? Now I gotta get a slice of pizza.
You're not used to streaming with Monero. Yeah, she does random stuff like that.
How did she start the book announcement with a rash or so?
Yeah, something about a damn rash.
Oh.
Always a good time hanging with that woman. I love her dearly.
That sounds like a really good night, like a rash and some pizza.
Is it though? Not at the same time.
I don't know about those two things going together.
It depends on how the rash happens, okay, and where the rash.
Wow, really?
You're not
really?
supposed to eat the pizza.
We were talking about pizza. Damn it!
This is Monero's like our war. She just fucks shit up.
I said some shit and then rolls out.
You just left, the bomb just dropped. Boom.
She just, here you go, guys. I'm out.
Okay, Justin, I need you to not co-sign to that nonsense, okay? He said, I've had both, and it's not bad, but it's not great. Don't encourage the madness.
I'm pure dying over here. This is amazing. This is what comes from pizza and a rash.
Oh, good Lord.
This is the norm. This is the norm.
Yeah, yeah.
All of us together.
And for all of you new folks that maybe have not watched us stream before, we go off on tangents all the time. We've got pretty much all of the big plot things talked about on the book, so now it's pretty much random free-for-all. If y'all have any questions also that you would like us to answer, put a QA in front of your question in the chat, and we'll get to them.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't have a favorite horseman until I heard the BBC version, and Harry Lloyd was...
Harry Lloyd.
Yeah. What was he?
Was it Pollution?
Pollution.
Pestilence, Pollution, one of those two.
And Harry Lloyd's my new Vincent Price. Like, that boy's got a voice on him that I could listen to day and night. I just want him to narrate my life. It's not an interesting life, but if he narrates it, it'll sound bomb-ass. So, Harry Lloyd, he made Pollution my favorite. So I love Pollution.
I just want to say that Death has always been Terry Pratchett's favorite character. And maybe that's my own personal opinion, but through this book and also like the Discworld books, like there's a character of Death, and he is not what you would expect, but has a sort of not cartoonish like physical appearance, but he's quite nice in a way, or understanding. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. LavLav can fill in more on that. I'm assuming you have read some of the Discworld novels.
I haven't, but I think I know what you mean. Like, Death is not the bad guy. Death is just like a part of life. Is very much his. At least that's how I always took his version of Death. Is that when you think about it, do you really want to be around here for frickin' ever? He's kind of like a break or something like that. But yeah, I feel you on how you're seeing Death in his way.
If you read The Light Fantastic and The Color of Magic, you'll get to see Terry Pratchett's Death kind of more in focus on those two novels. They're the beginning ones of the Discworld, and everyone should have at least a wee swatch of them. That swatch is a Scottish word for read. Or a look, or a glance. It has versatile meaning.
We have our first question. AU, I think we might have touched on that earlier. He says, why do you think there was a co-writer used on the book? And I think you had talked about that earlier, Lauren. Or whoever it was that said, like, Neil Gaiman got stuck at a part when he started writing, and then he brought in Terry Pratchett to help move things along.
I had mentioned it. He wrote the beginning of the book. Neil Gaiman wrote the beginning of the book. Him and Terry Pratchett are were always, not always, but they've been extremely close friends for a long time. So he sent his friend this part of the book and said, like, I'm stuck. I don't know where else to go. And I need you to like maybe help unstick me. And Terry Pratchett wrote back to him and said, I don't know how to unstick you, but I know the next part of this book. And he sent him what he had wrote, because Neil Gaiman's portion kind of just got the creative juices flowing in him. And so he knew the next part. And then after that, they just back and forth. Okay, I know the next part. Hey, I know the next part. And they just, until it was like this beautiful interwoven novel that we've got here. I believe when they talk about it, they say that Neil Gaiman wrote the gross bits and Terry Pratchett wrote like the kind of plot bits. That's how they say it. I don't know how, I mean, if you take that with a grain of salt, them kind of giving each other props, or whoever answered the question giving the other person props. But yeah, they like give Neil Gaiman the credit for like the Four Horsemen and for kind of like the darker aspects, and then Terry Pratchett's the more lighter, sarcastic part, which does kind of go with their writing, so it's believable. But yeah, that's what happened. One guy wrote the beginning, and then the other guy knew the next part, and then they just built off of each other till they got the novel. So that's how that happened. Thank God for writer's block.
Yeah, sometimes you need another person to get you through that writer's block, or even just to snap it out of you. And I have other people that I know that have shared stories that way, or learned with each other that way. But one thing I will say about Terry Pratchett is, if you come across a person who's read his books, you'll find it hard pressed to find somebody that's angry with them. A smile will always come across someone's face. Their face lights up, their childhood inside them like flicks on, or their teenagers, or whenever they started reading these books, and you'll just feel the love, the joy, like the connection, and they'll tell you how exactly they got to read said books and what order they read them in, or what's their favourite book first, and then the other ones that hold kind of significance. And like I got mine through my best friend for like the last 8-9 years, and he was massive Terry Pratchett book. That's all he did when he was young, just read all his books. And he constantly rereads them all the time with a few other authors. He's one of those guys. And I don't really reread books, but he gave me Good Omens. I read that, and I think he gave me The Truth and something else, and I flicked through them at high speed. And they're just, once you're in the book, you're there. It holds your attention. It's lighthearted, it's funny. I can't keep bigging up this guy. There's also a sad story to my connection as well, is that Terry Pratchett, when he died, actually died on my friend's birthday. The guy that loves Terry Pratchett, and he hated his birthday already. But now you've got this thing, and I remember when this happened, and he's like, my birthday will now forever be known as Terry Pratchett Death Day. And I'm just like, oh no.
You have to remember how Terry Pratchett viewed death. Death was not the bad guy.
Exactly. But my friend was like rightfully disappointed, just had to go on his birthday. Merely sheer coincidence, but again, some sort of weird fate for him as well.
That kind of sucks. I feel your friend's feelings. We have another question from the first sword of House Troll, Lord of the Twitters himself, Ion. Why are the porgs the most amazing creatures in the universe? You guys that have seen Star Wars, I don't know.
Product placement, they're great. How many times you go in a store and you see some type of merchandise catered to the porgs? They're fantastic, I guess. I don't know. You just have to answer a troll question. I don't know.
I don't consider a stream successful unless Ion has properly trolled the chat, so I'm good.
Then there's another one by Justin. Question: how do you think Gaiman holds up compared to George R.R. Martin?
Oh, dude.
You right bastard. How dare you ask such a question?
You fucking nugget. What the fuck do you
Damn
have?
it.
You don't do that. Not to me. Don't do it. I'm going to... No, I can't choose. Sorry. I'm staying out of this one.
This is the damn Crawley and Crawley question again. Yeah, I know.
Totally different animals. How are you? You can't compare them. George R. R. Martin kind of builds worlds and builds history. It's almost like reading a history novel. And Neil Gaiman, and it's fantasy, but Neil Gaiman is very much about the fantasy portion of it without building so much of a history. His characters are like, there's like God, like an eighth of what George R. R. Martin does, and it focuses on those. So it's comparing apples to oranges. It's impossible. I love them both in totally different ways. Like if I want a whole history lesson, even if it's fake history, I'll go to George R. R. Martin. If I just want to hear about a few people and their experiences and maybe how it touches on my life and my experiences, then I go to Neil Gaiman. So yeah, to me, totally different animals. You go to them for different needs, I guess. And George R. R. Martin is like it's a fantasy world, but it's like so real. It's like real people and real history and our real bullshit. And Neil Gaiman, I think, is more feelings and emotional. Like you relate to it on that level. That's my perspective. I don't know if you guys see it differently, but yeah, I could never compare them. I go to them for two different needs that my soul has.
A woman has needs indeed. But I think I will jump into this. Like George has essentially one massive world and one set of books, right? I know there's offshoots of said books, and he's done a few short novels beforehand, but essentially for the mass public view, it's A Song of Ice and Fire, it's Game of Thrones. Whereas Neil Gaiman has, as I've said, all these comic books, graphic novels that were done and are totally separate from all these other stuff way before most of his novels came out. And then you've got novels like Stardust that are movies, and you've got Nancy Boys that is an offshoot of American Gods, which I've read twice already. Totally worth the read, by the way. It's minorly different from the TV show, but I like how they've worked the TV show out for the screen. You've got his short story collections like Fragile Things and Smoke and Mirrors, which includes some poetry and a vastly different, essentially a different catalogue to what George R. R. Martin is. They are big writers, they're famous, they have they're different places in writing history and within our culture, but they offer two different things. So essentially you've got, as Lav said, the kind of history aspect, focusing on mythology and things like that, within, say, things like the United Kingdom and across Spain, Europe, and the Middle East, and so on and so forth. Whereas if you want to feel something, if you want to change your perspective or come to understand a relationship or the view of a god or something of that nature, then that's a Gaiman, hands down. Go to Gaiman.
I also want to add, if you happen to have children, Neil Gaiman writes some amazing children's novels, children's books. It's a good way if you want to get your kid like into stories, especially if you have a male child. I don't know if you guys know this, but I went to school for library science. I wanted to be a librarian, and there's like a thing where a lot of boys don't read, and Neil Gaiman is always brought up as a good person to try to get your sons to read, or the males in your library to read. I'm a girl and I love him, so it goes both ways, but I think he's a really good one to get your kids to read like quality writing, instead of just like crap or whatever. Although if they read crap, that's cool too. But yeah, he writes some amazing kids books. Like the book that I was introduced to him to was the Graveyard book, and that's a children's book. And I fell in love with him with that children's book. It's a children's book I read to my kids, both girls. So I recommend him. I don't know how many of you guys have kids, but I recommend him. He's a good way to get them into reading.
I have two kids, right? And I don't think any of them are going to be reading anytime soon. The oldest one, as I said, is obsessed with Rubik's Cubes and can solve one in like a minute. And the youngest one hasn't got quite into sitting still to read a book. I know that she can, but when her sisters are around, they have to interact with each other. It's not a right. I'm in my corner, you're in yours. We have to be in each other's spaces doing things, and she's copying her. But I actually did catch my daughter curl up beside me while I'm reading an Anne Rice book and sit and read the book with me. So like the potential is there in my youngest. I haven't like put it on her just yet. I just want her to come to me about it. Mum, can I have one of your books? And you're like, cool.
So while,
see if it works.
While we are on the subject of good books to read, Justin asked if we have a top 5 list of writers, or modern writers, he said, who is on that list. I think I know mine. If you want me to go first, I will, or if one of you guys wants to go first. No? Yeah? Okay, I'll go. All right.
Wait, before you start, what was it?
Yes.
Thing again? I was in the chat. What was the question again?
Who are your top 5 modern writers?
Okay, thank you.
Mine is Pion Elrond for her Vampire Files series. I love that series. Most of her books are about vampires, but there's one where she has a whole universe for it. There's like 10 or so books that are in it. I highly recommend if you like noir type things. Her lead vampire is an old school detective, and he doesn't stay a detective. He goes into a whole bunch of different arenas, but it's a good read to me. George R. R. Martin, of course, Tolkien, Neil Gaiman. So yes, both of those are on my list. And because I'm a great fan of mythology, Rick Riordan and all of his series, you know, if y'all don't know, he's done a lot more than the Percy Jackson series. There's a whole plethora of mythology or mythologies that he touches on in his books, and they are all surprisingly connected in the same universe. So with Percy Jackson, he deals more with the Greek gods, and Percy also crossed over into what he did with the Roman gods series. There's one for the Norse gods. That's the Magnus Chase series, and Magnus is actually Annabeth's cousin from the Percy Jackson series. And then he has one that deals with Egyptian mythology and their gods. And the 2 characters that are main in that series have solved like a little side issue with Annabeth and Percy. So it's a very, very good read. I think Rick Riordan writes mostly on the level of young adults, but regardless of which, the books are still really good. His stories are very interesting, and what he does with mythology and how he weaves it into our modern day is freaking fantastic. So I highly recommend him. That's my 5.
For me, I don't have a 5. I gotta maybe after finish reading at least the book so far and freaking A Song of Ice and Fire, maybe I'll add freaking George R. R. Martin. I read the first book and it was excellent, but I still got to read the rest so I can actually put them on my damn list. I can't just put them now by default just from the first book alone. But James Patterson, I fell in love with his Witch and Wizard series. I got to get back and start reading that. Who knows, maybe that can be like one book for book club later on down the line after the Harry Potter and stuff. Then there's again Rick Riordan, as AK put it, another time. I'm seeing a trend of like stuff that's dealing with gods and stuff from authors. Like I'm actually enjoying it. I'm really seeing it though. But just like I was saying in the live chat, I can't stand the adaptation to that book series. Damn it, they just like went entirely different route. Like just why? I literally got up after watching The Lightning Thief, saw it when it was on TV, and I was like, really? I really wasted like $8 going to see that damn film. I was hyping it up, really hyping that up. Then there's JK from Harry Potter, obviously. Saw the movies, read the books, I see there's certain things I'm like, they could have added it there, but I'm like, all right. I've figured out every time you do adaptations to books, you can't always add things or you just change stuff around, but I can deal with that. That, and of course, Token. Haven't read the Seminarium. Like, I cannot say that name correct.
Silmarillion.
There we go. Haven't read that yet. Oh my gosh, there's a kid screaming. Hopefully you guys didn't hear that, but if you did, oh well, too bad, so sad. Kids, damn it. But I haven't gotten into that. I've been trying to, but every time I want to read that, it's either book club or some other book I have to read with school, so I can never like get that into my schedule. I don't know. Maybe I have to do audiobook style, but for that one, I really want to actually read and take notes and stuff with it. Who knows? Who knows? So I don't know who wants to go next, Lav or Lauren, whoever unmutes first, I'm guessing.
I have unmuted first, so it is me. So this is quite hard for me because I've got so many writers that I like or love. No, there's love. And many of them I would say are my best friends and they don't even know it. That's the best way I can describe these writers, okay? Not in a stalkerish way, but from a distance. Like I've got some contact with them, but you know, we only speak or, you know, communicate in some way visually with each other like every 6 months or however often I read a book. So George is definitely up there because I didn't necessarily start reading properly till about eight or so years ago. And I challenged myself to read a big book, and that was A Game of Thrones, because my brother gave me some crappy gift card for HMV, and that's the only thing that I wanted from the store, because I didn't have a CD player or anything like that. So I read the first book, and then I read the second one and the third one, and then all the other ones that came along with that, cover to cover. By the time I got to the end, it's just like, I think I got to the end of Dance of Dragons Part 1, and then I put off reading Part 2 for like 6 to 9 months because I was like, I don't want to finish the series right now because that means I have to join everyone else in waiting for the next book, which keeps getting pushed off and off and off. Winter may not be coming. Or no, winter is here because they're still waiting for it. But George is there for that reason because that helped me get into reading. And then Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman are together, right? I cannot separate the two. The two are together because, again, of Good Omens. My next one is someone that does graphic novels and the series called Fables, which is basically like fairy tales that came out of their world because there's a war in their world they call our Mondays and they live in the mundane. It's kind of like Once Upon a Time, the TV show. They kind of took that from the comic book and made it into their own Disney version of it, all just Disney characters or the grim characters that they can get their hands on. That sounds so nasty. To be fair, there was like a lawsuit dispute, but I will move on. Fables, go read it, go check it out. It's awesome. There's also a video game. Anne Rice, because I read some of her books, and I've read quite a few of her books, to be fair, and the way she describes things is very reminiscent of like Virginia Woolf. I want to put Virginia Woolf in there, but I've only really read 2 of her books, so I can't really say much about it. So George, Gaiman and Pratchett, Anne Rice, Garth Ennis for the Punisher Max novels, because those are epic. One more. Weirdly, Charlene Harris for the Sookie Stackhouse novels. It's not quite girly shit, but it's still up there. And I have one guilty pleasure book, right? And it's the chickiest book that I've ever read, and the only chickiest book I've ever read, which is Can You Keep a Secret by Sophie Kinsella. She's the same person who wrote the Shopaholic novels. I've never read any of them, but this one book I have read like about 3 or 4 times. And I still love it. But anyway, I've rambled on enough.
If by chance you guys are wanting to see maybe the story of Fables or just be in that world, check out BBM's channel. He has gameplay of the video game, and it's pretty damn awesome. The game wasn't called Fables though. What was it?
It was Wolf Among Us. There we go.
The Wolf Among Us. Yeah, it's based on the Fables comic, so it
basically focuses on Big Bay and his investigation. I think it's the death of Rose Red or something like that. One of the princesses, like the archetypal princesses within Fables and the lands and all the different lands. It's a really good comic book series to read, and finding out, spoiler, that Cinderella is actually an assassin as well for like the whole Fables kind of community, and she's a spy and private investigator. Like, she's hands down awesome. But all the Disney, like all the princesses from that kind of world or universe is pretty epic the way they're portrayed.
And if you're gonna watch Once Upon a Time, stop, I think, mid-season 3 or 4.
Stop at season 3. Stop at season 3. The rest is a wash.
So true.
I'm gonna make my list kind of fast because I gotta go. I'm getting texts like, hurry up. This is like, I'm with Lauren, this is like really, really hard for me, but I'm gonna just say authors that have impacted me, I guess, recently. So George R.R. Martin, I feel like I would not have met any of you guys without George R.R. Martin and our love for this book. So I think that's a really great testament to how amazing a book is, that it could bring so many people and so many communities together. Just our crazy obsessions with it has brought us all together. So George R.R. Martin, definitely. The first series that I ever read and became obsessed with was The Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. So I have to put Anne Rice on there. I found her when I was a teenager in high school, and she really got me into this kind of series thing. Like, she's the one who got me into like waiting for the next book, waiting to see what's going to happen, and being really excited about it. So she's got to be in. Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman created the love of my life, Shadow Moon. So Neil Gaiman is on my list. I will never have the love of my life, but he is there in book form whenever I want to visit him. Jesus. Tolkien is Tolkien. Like, how can I not love Tolkien? And Stephen King, I think it is probably one of my favorite books, like, period. I love that world. I love the mythology. I love the way the characters are portrayed. I feel like a lot of people dismiss it as not a great novel just because it's horror. But to me, it's an amazing novel. And I read it constantly. So that's 5, right? I'm forgetting someone. That's 5. I want more, but I'm going to stop because I gotta go. So yeah, those are mine. I feel like my books impact my life personally. I'm like with Lauren, they're like people to me. They're real, and I love them, and I need them to survive. So yeah, that's as good as I can do for now.
And just because you brought it up, and I cannot not walk in the door when you open it, when she says she's picturing Shadow Moon, she's actually thinking about Ricky Whittle, who played Lincoln on The 100 and fucked The 100 after season 3.
Every time I bring up the love of my life, it turns into 100 things.
Yeah, it does. Because
that really escalated very quickly.
I told you I can't not walk through the door when you open it. You know this. You know what's going to happen, and you do it anyway.
I'm sorry, but Shadow Moon is the love of my life. And now he looks like Ricky Whittle because of American Gods, the TV show, and I am not mad at that. So, yeah.
Hey, even the Lord Commander can say the boy is easy on the eyes.
Good.
It's like every time I keep on seeing her new channel name, it's like Laving Shadow. It's like, no.
I wonder why.
We know the hidden message there. But yeah, it seems we must be wrapping up now. We didn't expect to go this long, but Who's gonna be in the sign outs from left to right, I think, with AK.
All right, yes, thank you guys for coming to hang with us yet again and helping us to continue the book club. You know, we're all heavy readers around here, and we are all more than Game of Thrones. We are multi-talented nerds. So come out and hang with us when we talk about different things. It doesn't always have to be about Thrones. Shout out to everybody that was in the chat. Thank you guys for coming to hang with us. And remember to smash that like button, punch it in the face, so we know that we're doing okay and you guys want us to continue. Thank you to my lovely panel. Monero is already gone, but Lauren, Lav, BBM, it's always great hanging with you guys. And I am so happy to have met you guys. And we're able to sit here and do this every couple months when we do. So I will see you guys all in the next one. And fuck the 100.
And that is AK, Alicia Kingston, Lord Commander, Breaker of Trolls, the Guyana Prophet, the Michonne voice of the Walking Bread channel. I don't know if she mentioned it because I was like in between the conversation during her intros and stuff. But yeah, do check that out. I think like sometime next month or so, I think me and Mel are going to be doing a comic book, you know, talk about The Walking Dead. I don't know if we're going by volumes or by arcs or whatever, but that's something to check out soon. We're thinking of doing it on the Top Shelf Fandom channel that co-hosts with Justin Thomas, who's in the chat right now. Lauren, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on my channel, on Lauren's Corner, or on Twitter at Catalica, but I'm sure you'll find all the deserving links down there in the comment bit or the description, either or. But I do whatever the hell I feel like. I'm trying not to swear. I really am trying not to. But I do swear a lot. So if you've got children about and you're not keen on that, then, you know, maybe mosey them the way away. I do poetry. I do random theories. I write. I have a book published. I have my own website. Those kind of fun things, you know. And yes, I am a rather super nerd when I'm not doing uni stuff, you know. So, and it's been awesome being here. I was really in the mood for a good chat, and it's good to have other people like this that are interested in things like me. And I love listening to LavLav repeating like all the same things and just be like, I love Gaiman, I love Pratchett, I love these people. Oh my God, Anne Rice. Like that makes my heart nice and warm. And I've got AK, my girl, just sitting over here looking total suave. Yeah, Shino. And thank you, BBM, for letting me be on here with you and enjoying your wall of plastic goodness and coordinatedly top shelf, bottom shelf, middle shelf, you know, respect.
Yes, respect the Funkos. And good to have you on my channel. I think this is the first time ever you were on the damn channel. I believe I was in a stream with you a year ago or so. It was a Game of Thrones one. I forgot which channel it was. I think I remember. I think it was you. Sure. And it was like a conversation about like who would you from Game of Thrones, a female who you would want as a mother. I said Cersei, and you bugged out. And that's how I remember you were on that panel.
Was this happened to be Johnny's panel?
No, I'm not sure if it was Johnny's or which we call it Christina's panel. Because that's how I remember she was on that panel as well. Could have been her channel or Johnny's. I'm not sure.
I think it might have been Johnny's, but I can't remember. I just remember that night being a little extra.
Yeah. Shout out to Johnny. And of course, lastly, LavLav.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Broke, so much for letting us do this on your channel, because YouTube's being a bitch. And like Lauren, I swear, me and Lauren are like this today. I curse constantly, Lauren, but I'm not nice enough to even give a warning. I just start spewing my crap in. Sorry if your kids are here. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I mean, AK, you know how much I love you. Broke, you're amazing for doing this for me and letting us do this on your channel. And I love your Funkos. And then and Lauren, I love you too, girl. You need to do this with us more often. If I had known how much you love to read, you should just be in the book club. I don't know why you're not.
I can just add her into the hangout. I mean, I don't think
I can see it's going to
anybody's
happen.
I like having the extra perspective.
We're not even asking you at this point. You're like, you're in there.
You're coming. You're coming.
I have already been claimed. I am now part of this. I am now entered as the Queen of Shade and Scottishness. That's my title, so that's what I'm sticking to. Okay.
Yes, we need a little Scottish in our streams here. So yeah.
One needs a bit of Scottish in them.
We need a little Scottish in it. Come on, girl. So
dude, we're a total awesome mix right now, because like there's you with the Hispanic descent, and then me, BBM, and Lav, not you, but Monero. We bring in the West Indianness, and now we have Scotland. Yes, we are winning.
We are totally winning.
And you're winning even more.
Thank you, everybody who's in the chat too. I was gonna say something I forgot. I don't know. You can find me on Twitter, Lavina. You can find me on Instagram at Reading and Drinking, because I just post books that I'm reading and whatever I'm drinking, which is usually either coffee or some sort of alcoholic beverage. And I'm on Lavine Shadow now is my YouTube name, if they ever let me stream again. So yeah. That's it. I'm sorry, Lauren. Were you gonna say something and I totally talked over it?
No, it's cool. I was just going to say the bigger bonus about me being Scottish and us being Game of Thrones fans is that I live near pretty much all the castles that George R.R. Martin has used for like the North and things of that nature. So, and I know history about the walls and whatnot, but that's for another time.
So again, if you want to visit these people's channels, the links are in the description box. Thank you for all that who stopped by earlier and now. It's been a great conversation. I am Broke Black Man 94. This is the book club discussion on Good Omens, and we're signing off.
Lexa deserves better.